Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pod Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and this is episode 541. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Stacy. That is at StacyPenn89 on Twitter. Stacy, how you doing?
Doing well. Go blue, man. Way to rep.
Yes, I am representing Michigan football, who, unlike my professional football team, did not let me down this weekend because they didn't play. But they will be playing next weekend, and we'll see what happens. All right. We're not here to talk about Michigan football or football in general. I think football is a stupid sport. We're here to talk about basketball. We're here to talk about the Knicks. We're going to do that. Before we get started, I do make a few announcements. First being that Strickland has a YouTube channel where you maybe watch this podcast. If you have not done so already, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. That'd be a huge help to us. Strickland also has merchandise, which you can find on our website at www.strict.land. There's a link to your merchandise store, and there's all kinds of cool stuff on there, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water bottles, you name it, we got it. The Strickland also has a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. There are a number of different tiers. There's a $6 tier that gets you access to Pod Strickland, the podcast that I host every Friday at the Prez. You also get access to Takes from Obvious Bozos podcast, hosted by Andrew Steele, aka Doug, along with Zach Blatter, and you get access to the Strickland Discord with the conversation never stops. There are other tiers. I say $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland Roll, the pod that I host with IC, where we rant and rave about the Knicks even more. You also get access to wonderful premium articles by our staff, and you get access to Strictly NFL, which you guessed it is a podcast about the NFL that is hosted by Constantine Metricos and Desmond Novak. There are further tiers. There's $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and a $100 tier that's come with a variety of additional benefits, like listening in on pod recordings, merchandise discounts, and even potentially co-hosting a podcast alongside yours truly one day, whether you choose to subscribe or not. None of this would be possible without you. So without further ado, let's get started. The Knicks are now winners of 4 in a row. They absolutely crushed the Brooklyn Nets yesterday after a 3-day break, which was nice, but also very weird. And that came on.
I think that was partly because St. John's was playing a home game against Alabama, which was a pretty big ticket.
But that was on.
That was on Saturday.
That was on.
I would imagine they probably would have played on Saturday, but
yeah, I don't know. Either way, the Knicks obviously getting 3 days off is nice, but that also came on the heels of them. I mean, putting on a clinic against the Timberwolves in the previous game, which we talked after. The offense is clicking. It is firing now on all cylinders. They are second in the league in offensive rating, according to Basketball Reference. Cleaning the glass actually has them as number 1. Cleaning the glass filters out garbage time. So by almost any metric, the Knicks are, they are an elite offense, and this is what Mike Brown was hired to do. I would say that even with as good as they've been offensively, I think there's plenty of room for this to get even better. By true shooting percentage, the Knicks are 16th in the league. They have the 16th best effective field goal percentage as well. These are numbers that I fully expect to go up. They're 21st in field goal percentage. They are.
Can you talk about why you'd expect those to go up?
Yeah, I will. They're 8th in 3-point percentage. This is just they're also right now they're averaging the 7th most assists per game, 7th most assists per 100 possessions. So I think there's a lot of good underlying stuff here. But yeah, I think the field goal percentage will get better because why wouldn't it? Like if you just look at this team right now, obviously we've talked a lot about how Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are really kind of benefiting from the offense shifting. Brunson's at 58 true shooting right now. Karl-Anthony Towns is at 58.5 true shooting. I just expect those guys, both of them specifically, to be more efficient as far as just hitting more shots. Brunson in particular, he's shooting right now 33.8% from 3. We know that this is a high-level 3-point shooter, and I expect that number to climb. Karl-Anthony Towns is shooting 32.6% from 3. I mean, we know his credentials as a shooter. That should improve as well. You could also probably expect a guy like Gershon Yabusele to get his shooting up as he improves his conditioning. I
On
thought
the flip
he
side, you have
just
Mikal Bridges shooting 50% from three, so there's going to be variance
yeah,
on both sides, right?
there's definitely going to be variance on that, but I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I just don't think the Knicks are the 16th best shooting team in the league. Like they're better than that. They have better shooters than that. And you know, what were they last year? Last year, let's see. They were by true shooting percentage last year, the Knicks were 10th and they had the ninth best effective field goal percentage last year. And that is in an offense that did not produce the quality of shots that we're seeing. It is an offense that was effective, obviously. But I think what we're getting right now is just a higher quality um, of possession by possession outcomes. Their corner three rate is high. They are getting shots at the rim at a high frequency. They're actually taking more shots at the rim right now than they did last year, and they finished second in the league last year in shots at the rim. They've cut down on mid range drastically. I think Brunson obviously has taken less mid range, but Mikal Bridges is taking way less mid range than he did last year. Even OG Anunoby is taking less mid range than he did last year. So when you kind of see that, um, yeah, like I think the offense is great, and I'm very happy with what I've seen through 9 games. But I think there's more to come. And the other part that's great for the Knicks is while they're definitely still shooting at a high rate, or that I think they will shoot better than they are, and that they're still scoring at a high rate. They're second in the league in offensive rebound percentage right now. So you know that the fact that they can beat you in multiple ways, as far as yes, they can hit shots, but they can also get second chance opportunities. And when you give a team like this, with the caliber of offensive players we have, that type of volume in terms of the just attempts you generate in a game, that's it's pretty great. The Knicks are also fourth in the league in turnover percentage. So they're not turning the ball over either, despite passing the ball and moving the ball a lot more than they did last season. Um, this is just the way it looks to me. This looks like a team that is just finding its stride right now offensively and is still pushing towards what their true ceiling is because again, as great as the offense has been, and it has been great, especially over this winning streak here, um, I think there's just plenty more for them to achieve. One thing that is worse this season for the Knicks is they're not getting to the free throw line as much, but I feel like this is probably a good trade-off and somewhat of a consequence of getting the ball out of Brunson's fans, getting the ball out of Cat's hands, as far as just like possessions where you throw them the ball and just have them go cook. They're getting their touches in a lot more in a variety of ways now that they did not in last season, and I think that's part of the reason why their free throw rate is down. But that's a good trade off if we're going to get better quality of shots. Again, we're still crashing the glass effectively and getting extra possessions. Um, so yeah, I just think there's so many strengths for this team offensively, and they haven't necessarily um, hit on all of those yet.
Yeah, I would largely agree. Some of that is just going to be shots will fall eventually. We've talked about this. The teams, I mean, can we agree Brunson, at the end of the day, is the team's best shooter? Like, no
Yeah,
disrespect to Shamit or Deuce or Cat, but
yeah,
we've talked about how it takes him a month or two usually to he'll still play well, but to get to, oh no, like if you give him room in the mid range, it's automatic, right? If he has an open three, it's automatic. It usually takes him a month or two to ramp up to that. Maybe that's also randomness, and I'm reading too much into it, but I think that in itself, right? To your point, they're shooting the right shots. I don't know what they're ranked in shot quality, but you can tell, it's more Morey ball. Part of that is just getting the ball out of Brunson's hands, but even Mikal Bridges is attacking the rim more. Um, it's not to say that Mikal Bridges um, or Brunson um, or Cat shouldn't take mid-range shots, but viewing them, if not a last resort, as like take them when they are what the defense is giving you, as opposed to kind of that's just what we're going to accept, is going to change things, right? I'm trying to look up shot quality. Yeah, here it is. So in shot quality, the Knicks rank second in the league after Chicago, which obviously Chicago has had a phenomenal start. So they're taking the right shots. I do think some people might push back on what you said based on the fact that the Knicks do lack elite shooters. Shamit is their maybe best off-ball shooter. Isn't a guy you can play a ton. Cat just isn't going to get volume up like that. I think we might have to accept that as a reality. So obviously they're emphasizing it, and it's not quite coming to fruition in as you might hope or expect. Um, and Brunson is still, at the end of the day, going to be tasked a lot with being on ball. But to your point, yeah, 16th or 15th, all else equal, that like if you're maximizing your shot quality, you should expect to be quite a bit better in your metrics than they are. Right? This isn't a poor shooting team. They don't really. I mean, who are the non-shooters that play? Mitch, when he's hurt.
It's
Huck
just Hart
Porty,
and Mitch.
yeah, and Huck Porty when Mitch is hurt, right? So, um, are there some mediocre shooters? Maybe is Bridges a 50% 3-point guy? Maybe not, but they're mostly have guys who can knock down shots. So you'd expect that to change. You would expect, I think, them to get more comfortable. I think the turnover rate is a good sign, but also like, well, if they're still taking care of the ball, is there more upside there? Maybe they can be even more aggressive, though. That's the flip side, right? Like, you might say, well, they're already optimizing and the turnover rate is low, so you're not going to get more efficient. The flip side of that is, can you like put your pedal, the foot on the gas even more? Um, if you have a few more turnovers a game. So they have these options. I think the biggest concern is still going to be the defense. Like, what are they, 13th right now, I think? Um, Obviously, have had some. Chicago is right now playing at an extremely high level in offense. So, but that game looked a little too easy. But I think like there's tons of reasons for optimism. I don't think you understated any of that. And yeah, it's scary that they can get better. Um, and in most playoff series, they'll have the best player on the floor. And some they might even have the best two. And they have wild cards like Mitchell Robinson who can take over a playoff series, or even Bridges. And I think Bridges is emblematic of the whole transformation. And this is not a Tibbs thing. He might just be more comfortable. I don't like. I think he's been more vocal. All of that. That might be
I mean,
Tibbs. That also
I
might
think
just be like
I
your second year on the team. You're more comfortable, right? So, um,
I think it's a Tibbs thing. I don't even know how it's. I think you're.
it's tough to know
I
that saying
understand
about
what
you,
you're
really.
saying. I understand what you're saying. I think it's like fair to caveat it, but um, I think it's unequivocally a Tibbs thing, and I'm not even saying that as far as like I don't think Tibbs had some unique like destructive effect on Mikal Bridges, um, but I do think that the way we set up as a team affected his play and his effort level. I mean, he's clearly happier right now. He's clearly more engaged than he was for wide stretches of last season.
He's found his
Um,
arc that Christopher never found.
yeah, he's shooting with more confidence. I think some of the like that I don't know is really about Thibodeau. I think that actually has to just do with like his form looks clean, and we know last year that his form was all over the place, especially the 3-point shooting. Um, but
I mean, don't
just
you think it's also he's a
forgetting
year
the actual
removed from the
percentages, just watching.
he's a year removed from the 5 picks discussion, right? So that helps a little bit. Like he
I
came
but
here,
like
5 picks, you're Brunson's best friend, be awesome. and he
Look,
wasn't
I think
exactly that.
I think that I I think that weighed on him, but I don't know why we're acting like look, we all watched last season. Do you think Mikal Bridges is more involved right now? Like he is. It's not like it's every metric will point this out. He gets the ball more, he touches the ball more, and it's not just him, right? OG Anunoby's getting more touches. Brunson's touches are actually up, but you look at how he's getting those touches, and it's significantly different than how he was being utilized last year, where his forget the touches, his time of possession was insane. Like he was just on the ball all the time because that's just how we set things up. Um, that's changed now, and obviously you still always have the ability for Brunson to bail you out if you need him to bail you out, but you know the Knicks have talent, and it's important to get those guys going, and not just get them going, but it's like the purpose of a possession should not be okay. We need to get Mikal Bridges going, so let's run a play for him, which is like kind of what Tibbs did. I think that he tried the best that he could to kind of incorporate him as the season went on, but it's mostly just okay in these next however many possessions because Brunson is out or whatever happens, we're gonna go to Mikal Bridges a bunch. But there wasn't again. I mean, I don't really feel like I need to keep repeating it, but I will. There's just not a lot of layering of the offense, and now you're seeing a lot more layering, and it's not perfect. They still have stuff to clean up. I think, look, the Nets are not exactly a stiff test for this team.
I mean,
it was
they're
a
very
joke. I mean,
optimistic about Igor Demin.
I wish them the best of luck.
I mean, do you think
But
Michael
like
Porter
they are,
Jr. had superpowers because he's not vexed? That could be
it's
another
very
source of
possible.
optimism for them too.
Could be. But like, look, the Nets are not a good team. The Timberwolves are good. Their defense has been pretty atrocious to start this season. So, they have stiffer tests coming. But that said, like I don't see a reason why this team shouldn't be a high like there's no real question of does this team have the capability of being a high level offense? What really we need to find out, and there's no way to find this out right now. We will only find this out in April and May and June, is can you carry the offensive performance, relatively speaking, into higher leverage playoff spots? Because the Knicks offense cratered last year in the postseason, and it basically cratered every year in the playoffs except for the 23-24 season. And some of that I think was just they benefited a bit from the opponents they probably played. But this was basically the case for Tibbs his entire career as a head coach, is that the offenses he did coach, and he coached several top 10 groups in Chicago. He had an elite offense regular season wise in Minnesota. He obviously had elite offenses in New York, but aside from that 2023-24 season, his offenses tend to play at a much lower level in the postseason, and I think that's very evident in why that is, right? I think there's a lack of willingness to experiment with lineups and different configurations. There's very, very kind of almost unhealthy level of I'm just going to give the ball to my best guy and let him cook. And that stuff is fine in the regular season. It can be very, very effective in the regular season. I think, obviously we've talked a lot in the past about how Tibbs teams are good at offensive rebounding, and that's a way to buoy your offense, even if you maybe lack the shot making that is typical for an elite offense. But, all that stuff, it doesn't necessarily travel the same way in the playoffs. And, um, you know, again, the stuff we're seeing from Mike Brown in terms of how he's getting the Knicks to play, how this is starting to build up, these are the things that you want to see. But will that hold in the postseason? That's the test for them. And until then, all we can do is watch this team and enjoy games like last night, enjoy games like the game against Timberwolves on Wednesday, and enjoy that stuff and take from it these improvements. But we have to see it hold in the playoffs, and that will come. That time will come. But I think the Knicks are in a good spot right now. They are. They look like they're playing with joy, and I know that's not the most important thing, but they did not look like they were having fun for a lot, like long, long stretches of last season. And, we got we obviously there was a lot of reporting through the season. And then after, literally right after the Knicks lost to Indiana, we got that athletic piece about a lot of the issues they were having behind the scenes. And, maybe that's still happening. Maybe they're still having 55 player meetings a week or whatever. Um, but right now, this looks like a group that is playing with joy. Like they look like they're having fun, and it looks like they're enjoying kind of figuring out a new thing. I think there wasn't much figuring stuff out last year. It was just kind of like, this is our team and this is what we do, and we're just going to keep doing what we do um, the whole way. But I think Mike Brown has implemented a lot of changes here in the play style and what we're looking for, and kind of what the average possession looks like, and what shots we're trying to produce and all those type of things. I think the defense has changed quite a bit. There's still a lot of work to be done defensively for sure. Um, but yeah, I think that they're enjoying the process, to be quite frank. Like, I think that that is part of it. You need to make an 82 game season mean something. Um, and that's hard when you're really good, because it's easy to just be like, well, none of this matters. Let's just get to April in one piece and then we'll be good to go. But I think that using these 82 games as an actual kind of, let's see what works. Let's try different things on any given night and see how it plays out. I think that is invigorating for them. I think that there was a malaise with the team last year, and I feel like they have been um, they've arisen from their stupor in some ways. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I think it's very fun to see, and there's little cool things that are happening, I think, across the board with this team. One thing I wanted to say for sure is I am pretty happy with how Jordan Clarkson has been playing lately. I think that he's picking his spots a lot better, and you know there was definitely concern for me and many others, too, that, "Oh, is this guy washed? Has he lost his burst?" And, I don't think he's definitely not as bursty, as he was at his peak as a scorer, but I think there's definitely still juice left, and, um, I think he had to, like, relearn how to play fucking meaningful, serious basketball again. The guy's been in Utah doing nothing for the last, how long was he in Utah? This guy was in Utah for 6 years. They've been basically blatantly trying to be bad for the better part of the last 3 seasons. Um, yeah, like, I think that he got into some, not into some, I think he got into a lot of bad habits in terms of shot selection, play style, and everything. He didn't need to fit in around other players on the team because there just wasn't a lot of talent on the team. And I think that has changed. Obviously, he's in New York now. He's playing with an all NBA guard in Jalen Brunson, an all NBA big in Karl Anthony Towns. He's playing with two great wings in Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. He's got, one of the best six men in the league in Josh Hart. He's got a dominant interior presence in Mitchell Robinson. Like, there's just a lot of talent here, and it's talent that needs to be respected when you play with them on the floor. And I think he needed to learn that. And he's, look, there's stuff, but we also need that kind of individual scoring talent that he provides. I think we felt that all of last season, right? That it was, I do think the bench was underutilized last year, but by the same token, the bench did not have a guy that you were like, this guy on any given night could give us 20, right? And Clarkson still hasn't had like that kind of big explosion um, yet, one of those random like 25 points or something. But I think I'm very optimistic about that now. And I think his shot selection has improved. I don't remember the last time he's taken a pull up transition three, which great. Like, I don't ever need him to take that shot. Uh, And yesterday, again, the Nets are the Nets, but like yesterday, I thought he did when the opportunities rose, he was able to get into the paint and hit that little floater and score in his own way. So, yeah, I'm really encouraged by what I've seen from him, and it right now this looks like that looks like a pretty good value addition for the Knicks.
Yeah, and I think it's reason to believe that Yabusele will figure it out too. Um, I think people are panicking. That's that's the one area you can point to a player who's underperforming. I think Clarkson has exceeded expectations. What you were hoping for when you signed him, like campaign, can do some of those things. He's a good off. He's a good pull up shooter. Um, he's quick enough to get in the paint, but there's very severe limitations. Clarkson, at his best, gives you those things. He can shoot pull ups. He can make bad shots. These are the kinds of things that you want a bench player to do. I've been impressed with his passing. Um, I've been impressed with the fact that unlike Payne, who because of his physical limitations, just once he has to take on a rim protector one on one, it's going to end up in a floater or he can't do it. Um, Clarkson can. He's physically more capable. Um, he's stronger, a little more athletic. So that's really what you want out of the spot, and it by giving the bench that kind of floor, it allows other guys to be better. Um, I don't think it's been a coincidence that Josh Hart has played better since Clarkson has played better because he's now able to do more of the off-ball stuff. And in his own words, Josh Hart said, "I really just run around and get the ball, and when I get the ball, I run around more." You want Josh Hart to be free to engage in that kind of uncontrolled chaos. You want Deuce McBride to move around, hunt, pull up shots. You don't want him to worry about bringing the ball up and having to create against a set defense. And so it makes other players better in a way that Payne could take that load off of Hart or McBride, but it wasn't in sync. I think this is a theme you kind of hit on a bit, right? Like it's not just we run a set play for Mikal Bridges to get him going. It's we have Mikal involved while everyone else is involved. We have McBride involved with whatever his ability to dribble is, while somebody else can direct traffic. Um, Same thing with Hart, right? So that's like, and that's why I actually have been impressed with Tyler Kolek this season. But Clarkson won that job. He did not get handed it to him because Kolek is young or not very good. I think he improved on the things that Kolek was bringing. And I think you brought up a great point. You have to get out of the loser ball mentality. We saw that with Alec Burks and Boyan Bogdanovic, right? When they were traded here, they were coming from a tanking team. It's funny enough that they might be one of the Knicks. That team might be the Knicks' biggest threat now, or one of them. But they're coming from a tanking team. It took them time to ramp up, and that's not that they didn't give a shit anymore. It's just the mentality. Those are the margins that we talk about, right? Like, there's a difference between like I have to show up and be a professional versus I'm playing for a championship. I'm playing for a playoff win. I'm playing for a top seed, right? And that does take time, and it's good to see that Clarkson has embraced it. It's good to see that the Knicks eval of him seems to have been good, and it gives me more optimism for Yabusele, frankly.
Yeah, um, I think that's all 100% accurate. It basically is like I yesterday I was like bouncing between various football games, and I caught a little bit of the Giants and Bears game. And actually, he brought up an interesting thing, and I think this relates to like what we talk about in terms of you know there's a difference between keeping guys involved in a lineup versus just running plays for them. But he brought up how like he was like the Giants
Sorry,
run
who is he?
so Greg Olson. He was just talking about he was like the Giants were they kept getting stuffed on these run plays where they were under center. And what he was talking about is just like they basically only whenever they're under center, they just run the ball. Um, and teams know that. So it's like, that's why they're more effective running out of the gun. So those things aren't married together, right? It's like, well, we're going to run the ball we want to get under center to run the ball. It's not actually like layered with different things. So like, the Bills have this issue too, where it's like they're constantly like it's pretty easy to tell, or are they passing here? Are they running here?
They
Um,
won't just let
and
James Cook out of shotgun.
yeah, and I think like that's kind of what a lot of the issue was last year, where it was like, okay, we know what is happening on any given possession, and I think there's more randomness to their play now. There is more, and not randomness in a designed way.
Stochasticity, that's the fancy word. It's
Yes, yeah, it's that
less
you have
predictable.
different option. Yeah, yeah, less predictable. You have more options on each play, and that's a lot more challenging for a defense than, kind of the very, very rigid kind of structure we had under Thibodeau. So these are good things. I think, like you mentioned, I think Clarkson's benefiting from that, and I expect him to kind of keep ticking up in terms of his play. That's good, obviously, and we'll see how the minutes and stuff break out. I know yesterday there was a lot of people that were like, "Oh my God, Deuce is the third guy off the bench. He's the third guard off the bench. He only played 16 minutes, and blah blah blah." And I understand that trepidation because we had a coach for so long where things stayed the same, right? It's you kind of knew based on if a guy is starting, when a guy comes off the bench or whatever, what his minutes were going to look like and what his role was going to look like over the course of a season. We don't know that yet with Thibodeau, or sorry, with Mike Brown rather. And he talked about that yesterday, right? That he was like, I didn't know, I'm part of the reason why we were struggling early on too, because I didn't know what Josh Hart's minutes should be like, what Mitchell Robinson's rotation should be like. And I think he's still figuring that stuff out. There's still stuff that he needs to work through because this is his first time with this group, right? It's not like he's coached the Knicks before. Um, I don't think he's coached anybody on this team before, to my knowledge. So like, yeah, like it's a learning process for him as well. And I think it's okay not to freak out because Deuce played 16 minutes tonight, or this guy did this stint, and this guy played that many. Like we're figuring it out.
Sometimes the
Also, the
throw the
great thing about
spaghetti at the
yesterday's
wall approach is needed. I saw an article about how the Democrats should move forward without getting political, and someone was saying like throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. And sometimes that's what you need. And I think some of what or you need to bend in that direction, right? And I think that's what Brown's doing. So that's why people are like, why don't you hold him to the same standard? It's like, well, let's see, right? Let's see to the point where we have a stable, like, this is who he is. We're not there yet, right? So it's tough to draw any meaningful conclusions on that end. But he seems to be trying a lot of the things we wanted to be tried.
yeah, and you know, um, it's yeah, we'll have to, it's 9 games. You're what 10% of the way through the season. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. Um, and there's a lot of stuff to figure out. Like I think, I'm interested to see if they ever kind of start playing more zone, trying stuff out like that. The defensive coverages are also a work in progress. So yeah, I'm excited to like watch this play out. I think that we'll have a better understanding of the full team than we kind of did last year because I I suspect that players will get more opportunities in different combinations than we saw for most of last season. So those are good things. That's what, and like you mentioned, like there is a value to that, right? And within reason, obviously. Like it can't just be that you come out every single game and you're
Yeah,
just
we're not starting
doing
Mitch,
whatever the fuck.
Huckforty, and Cat together, right? And with Art,
Yeah,
right?
like
Like, there's some.
and to the point, yeah, to the point you're making, like you know, I know that we all want to erase the Fizdale era out of our brains, but like David Fizdale he tried a lot of shit, but, like, there was no method to the madness. It was just, like, doing shit for the sake of doing shit,
You
right?
have
Like,
to learn from
"Oh,
it
let
and
me just"
evolve, right? So that's
yeah,
you
well, it's
try
like,
things
"Oh,
so
let
that
me
you know
just"
what to do and what not to do, and it just
yeah,
never
and
really
well, it
got
was
it.
like, "Oh, let me just start Alonzo Trier, a point guard, for the first game of the season," even though I didn't play him a point guard at all in the preseason. Like, things like that are dumb, and they don't serve a purpose. Things like, I wanna try this 3 guard look. I wanna see what this double big lineup looks like. I wanna see what OG at the 5 looks like. I wanna see what Cat with XYZ guys next to him in a lineup look like without Brunson. Like, I think those are the things that you want to see and that you need to experiment with and not just pre-decide how it all works. Um, and if we continue to see that, I think that is ultimately what that's a good sign. I think that's a good sign to keep trying those things. And, look, Yabusele has not gotten off to a good start. I'm fine with Mike Brown basically saying, like, you're not gonna play as much as one, we probably expected you to when we signed you, and two, probably as much as you want to be until you kind of earn earn those minutes. And I don't think he's like, I don't think he's in the doghouse, right? He's not. I don't see him
That's the
catching a bunch
point,
of
right?
DNP
There is
CDs.
the idea of a doghouse is just way less restrictive, right? Situational was the label for no situation, right? Now the doghouse could be it's just not a thing. It's like you're not going to play. Like if I want you in the game, you'll play. If you're Jarris Walker under Rick Carlisle, if I want you in the game, you'll play, and we'll see. And you got to outcompete your teammates. You got to do all those things. But it's fluid, right? I think that's the word I would use. It's to the extent there's a doghouse, it's very much more fluid right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm again, I'm very, very encouraged by what I've seen, and I think there's a lot of stuff that we can,
Be
you know,
optimistic about.
I
Yeah.
mean, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say be optimistic about. I did want to add one other thing, kind of on the point you're making before about the shooting. So before this season, I thought Jalen Brunson's assists wouldn't necessarily go down, but you said his scoring would go up and his assists would go down. I think you said his scoring and assists would. His scoring is up. He's averaging 27, um, and he's averaging fewer assists, only 6 assists last year. That's the least since his first year in New York, actually, when he averaged 6.2. So, but he's shooting 33.8% from three. There's two things on his 3-point shooting, or three things I'll highlight. One, he's averaging 7.9 attempts per game. That is by far the most he's ever averaged in his career. His highest was the year we lost to Indiana, the first time we lost to Indiana. That year when Randall got hurt, he was taking 6.8 threes per game. He shot 40% on that. He's a career 39% shooter. He's shooting 34% on 7.9 attempts per game. Again, by far the biggest, the largest in his career. 11.6 per 100. For comparison, that's in line with guys like Grimes and Fournier when they were here. And you might say, well, is he just jacking up shots, and that's why his percentage is worse? He is actually taking um, more catch and shoot threes. So 58% of his shots from three are assisted compared to 46 last year. That's in line. 58% is not something he's never done before. It is in line with what he averaged the year before with Randall, right? With and without Randall, right? So, but the year before that, his first year in New York, he averaged 57.5. So that is a pretty strong indicator to me that like we said, for all the reasons we said, some of it might just be early season. But if you're getting Jalen Brunson 8 3-point shots a game, those are going to fall. And I think it's like there's not a whole lot more. I mean, that guy might average. He's still averaging 27. He's still at a pretty respectable 58 true shooting. This guy could put 30 points up on 60 true shooting. I don't like that might be the biggest regression. I mean, and you did talk about it before, but it's also how those shots are coming. He's not jacking up shots. He's putting up outlier volume for his career. Um, with a lot more catch and shoots. Like that should scare other teams, to put it mildly.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like it's why you try not to get too crazy about the results of like the first whatever 5, 10, 15 games, whatever sample you want to use, because you need greater sample sizes to kind of determine what's real and what's not real. And, like you mentioned, on the surface, it's like, oh, he's shooting 33.8% from three. That's bad. But it's like, okay, but if you were to say that this is his shot diet, the shot diet that he's put together through 9 games,
Yeah, if you want
that's
to
what
tell
it's
me
going to
that he's going
be.
to shoot 34% from three for the whole season, I will take that bet any day.
Right.
Or the over on that,
And
high over.
right. And it's also just that it's not just because he's shooting poorly, it's also that he's not shooting as well on shots that are really good shots for him. Um, so if you keep getting those attempts, those type of shots, you would expect um, his percentages to improve. So we will definitely be monitoring that. He is shooting, by the way, 70.3% at the rim this season, which is that's by far his highest mark in New York. Um, the his previous high in New York was 63. He shot 67.6% in 2020, like last season. Um, so, I think that does speak a bit to probably getting some better looks at the rim, less contested looks at the rim, less congested looks at the rim. He's also taking more shots at the rim than he has since he was in Dallas. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it might not be statistically
pretty.
significant, but he he's been pretty consistently at about 23% assisted at the rim on assisted on two pointers. He's up at 26%. I don't have assisted at the rim yet. But I would imagine some of that bump, especially because he's still taking so many unassisted middies, is like just more open shots at the rim, right? So
Mhm. Yeah. So these are all the good things that are happening, and I don't really. I mean, look, I don't know. I look at this Eastern Conference right now, and I just don't really think there are many teams that are even in the same ballpark as New York.
well,
You
Detroit
know,
has the best player in the East.
yeah,
Or
Detroit has the best player in the
second
East.
best. But
Yeah. The Knicks right now, they have a plus 8.9 net rating. The next closest team in the Eastern Conference is Miami. They're at plus 5.8. After that is Detroit at plus 5.5. And then Cleveland at plus 5. I think
Chicago was
Cleveland's
in top
net,
four. That's
I think
interesting.
yeah, I think
They were
Cleveland is probably I would expect them to improve on that just because they got Garland back. That gives them more firepower. I give them the benefit of the doubt based on what they put together last season. I would fully expect them to kind of be in that top 3, 4, or 5 teams in terms of net rating by the end of the year. But the rest
You
of the
mean
conference is
overall?
just yeah,
Yeah,
over the course of
I
the
think
season.
there's the top
Um,
two. I think we both agree what they're going to be in the Eastern Conference, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be the Knicks. I think it'll be the Cavs. But then you look at the rest of it. It's like, look, I know Philly's gotten off to a good start to the season. I'm not sure how sustainable all that is, and not because like they're doing something that I think is ridiculous or crazy, but it's just like I don't know how far you can. I don't know how good you can be if Joel Embiid is not close to kind of what you expect from him or what you
I
hope
mean,
from him
the counter
anyway.
I would offer is let Andre Drummond start and bench Embiid and Maxi, and you're going to be asking, do Embiid and Maxi even need to come back before the playoffs? Yes,
So a good
Andre
question.
Drummond is like that.
Also, a good hypothetical. But yeah, like I don't know, they play a lot of guards. I don't know how sustainable all of that is over the course of 82. They
They have no wings
probably
against us. They're going to get
yeah,
like OG
they
and McCall are going to
probably
fucking destroy them.
they probably should be a top 6 seed if they can kind of just get good health from Maxi and, Edgecombe and Grimes and these guys, but I don't think they're a real threat. Boston, we know that they have issues just because of, they traded a bunch of players and Tatum is out right now. We'll see how long that he
Does
is
your
ends up being
prognosis for
out
them
for.
change much if like, do you think there's a scenario in which Tatum actually
No.
changes the course of the East?
No, I don't know. Their front court is not good enough, even though apparently Luka Garza yesterday absolutely killed the Magic down the stretch. Orlando is just fucking lost right now. I think they actually have some simple fixes that could immediately improve them. Just by eliminating certain players in their rotation. Like, I don't think Jonathan Isaac ever needs to play. I don't think Tyus Jones ever needs to play. I think Anthony Black probably needs to play less and be reduced in his offensive responsibilities. But like even with that, I don't think I never thought they were a contender, and I I don't see any
That
reason
goes
why.
back to Franz and Paolo not being.
Yeah, I don't think anything changes for them, even if those things occur. As far as contention, I think they would. Honestly, I think if they make some of these changes, they could probably be a third
Well,
or fourth seed, like people were expecting. But I don't think that they have a real chance at coming out of the East. I never did, and I feel
I
even
do want to
stronger
talk a
now
little.
that that's the case.
I do want to talk a little bit about Orlando because you tweeted out. Someone posted that Bane has just very low numbers in terms of not just his percentage, which you would expect to go up no matter what, because it's Desmond Bane, but through this X Games, fewest amount of 3-point attempts. And you said this is a Jamal Mosley problem. So I want to ask you a little bit. Like, Bane was arguably the most high profile acquisition this off. You can say Kevin Durant. It was one of the most high profile trades.
No, I
Obviously,
think
hasn't worked
I
out.
think Bane was definitely a more high profile acquisition than Kevin Durant was.
Well, you're a huge KD fan, so I'm surprised to hear that. But what I want to ask is, do
No,
you think
I'm
it's
just I'm just saying like
yeah, he's
just look at
four
the pick
picks.
cost. Like
Yeah,
Bane cost 4 first round picks and a really good swap. Durant went for 1 first round pick and Jalen
Jalen
Green.
Green.
Like obviously Kevin Durant is the better player still than Desmond Bane, and he is the more higher profile player. He's whatever. But Bane was I mean, think about the kind of fanfare that came with that move. All of a sudden, I feel like Desmond Bane turned into Steph Curry the way people were talking about him. And look, it's fun to like clown on him and shit while he's struggling, but like I don't think all his struggles are just because it's him. Like I think, yeah, sure, there's probably still like we talked about with Mikal. Is there some the cost of what I am worth is weighing on me a little bit? Sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. But I think that they're just doing a bad job of of incorporating incorporating him, and their
But will they
offensive
ever be
mix is
able
just
to?
off.
Will they ever be able to? If, as you have said many times, Franz and Paolo just aren't that guy to create. So he's not really in that situation where he can play off a guy like Ja or even Jaren Jackson.
I mean, I don't even know how much it's really about. Like, yes, do I feel that there is a ceiling um, in terms of if Franz and Paolo are your best players or they're your centerpieces, do I think there's a ceiling in what your offense is ultimately capable of? Yes, absolutely, I do. Um, but do I feel that even within that kind of paradigm that they can be better than what we're seeing and improve their output? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just looking at their numbers here. This year, so we're just look at pure touches, right? Paolo's at 71.4 a game. Wagner is at 59.2. Okay, that's fine. Desmond Bain is third at 51.3. He plays 30 minutes a night. Anthony Black plays 4 less minutes and he is on ball 3 less times. He gets 40 and a half touches compared to Desmond Bain. He's actually on ball overall more than Desmond Bain. Anthony Black is 2.9 minutes time of possession per game. Desmond Bain's at 2.8. Jalen Suggs is on ball more than Desmond Bain. He's at 3 minutes time of possession, and he's on the ball. He's getting 47 and a half touches per game. Jalen Suggs, by the way, he's only playing 20 and a half minutes a game right now. And, you just go down this, but it just doesn't make any sense to me that you traded all this shit for Desmond Bane, and right now he is 5th on your team in terms of the amount of time that he's on the ball per game. Like,
Sounds
that's
kind of familiar,
kinda
doesn't it?
nuts. Yes, it is, and that's the problem. It's not none of this is really being pieced together well. Um, you know, look, I've criticized Paolo a bunch. I've not kind of understood the insane hype, and I think that I've always been higher on Franz than him, and just probably higher on Franz than a lot of kind of consensus. But I think there's been a lot of fair criticism of Franz over the last couple of years, like no question. But when I watch them this year, I don't feel like, oh, this is a Paolo issue. This is a Franz issue. No, this is like a systemic issue. Um, there's there's no reason that Desmond Bain should be like hanging out on the wing while Anthony Black is doing whatever at the top of the key. Like, you need to do more to get Bain involved, and not just Bain involved. Like we just talked about layering this stuff. Like, there's such little actions that they run where you're Bain and Paolo are having a two-man game, Bain and Franz or whatever. Like, they're not layering this stuff together. They're not combining their best players enough. And um, I don't know. I watch them and I just think there's also weird stuff going on with their minutes. Like, Tristan Da Silva's been good this year. He should be playing more. He's only getting 21 minutes a night. Like, the guy should be playing 25 minutes a night on this team. He can actually shoot the ball. He's shooting, I think, like 43%, I believe, from three right now this season. Um,
What's the
they're not
volume?
a good shooting team. I don't know that off the top of
I'll
my
look
head,
it up.
but like you have two guys in this team right now that are good shooters, Desmond Bain and Tristan Da Silva. I don't care what Wendell Carter Jr. shoots from three, because I don't think any team is too worried about Wendell Carter Jr. lighting them up from three consistently. But Desmond Bain is a weapon out there, and
Yeah, so to your point, Silva, sorry, I'll let you finish. De
yeah,
Silva is averaging 10.3 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. So that's
yeah,
quite
that's, that's a very healthy
those are
number,
guard numbers, and
and
he's kind of a big, right? So no, he's a
yeah,
wing, but he's like a big wing. So
he's playing well, but like, and then you look at Desmond Bain, and I mean, this is just like shocking stuff. Like, he is literally taking, okay? This is a guy who his previous 3 seasons, he has taken 10 and a, the, 10 and a half, 10 and a half threes per 100 possessions, 12.2 threes per 100 possessions, and then 8.8 threes per 100 possessions last year in Memphis. This year he's at 6.4.
that's
6.4.
cat
That's
number.
by far
Those are cat
that's
numbers.
horrible. That's bad. Like, that's just bad. And
Yeah, that would
I
be
don't
like if
know.
you had Randy Moss and you had him running one deep route a game, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
so
like, oh, we're gonna have run a bunch of wide receiver screens for Randy Moss. Like, no, like, they're not leveraging the talent they do have optimally. And like, that's the job of any coach. I remember, like, I harped on this all the time with Fizdale, where it was like, people are like, well, what do you expect him to do? And I'm like, look, I'm not asking the guy to win a championship with this team. But if you're telling me that like this is a 4-18 team when when he gets fired, then you're joking yourself. Like, there's clearly more talent than to be on a 16 win pace. And I don't know. Again, I have a lot of questions about Orlando. I think even if you use this group to the absolute maximum, I don't see a championship ceiling as currently constructed. Um,
but it
but
shouldn't look like this.
yeah, it shouldn't be like this. They should be much better than than this. And like, the offensive stuff is problematic, but then you look at the defense, and the defense hasn't been nearly as strong either. They're 15th in the league right now in defensive rating,
They're below us.
114.5. This is 15. They have a negative net rating right now. Slightly, but it's negative. It's minus 0.2. So this isn't even like, we see this all the time in early parts of the season, especially where it's like a team they're either vastly outperforming or underperforming their point differential. But they're basically exactly where the point differential has them. They're 4-6, negative 0.2. Pythagorean win loss has that at 5-5. I mean, okay, but you're right around 500. That's where you're supposed to be. So they're not getting unlucky. They're just playing poorly and getting the results that they more or less deserve. Um, so I'd be very worried right now if I was a Orlando Magic fan. Not and honestly, I genuinely believe that their best path to, either Jamal Mosley needs to make certain changes or they need to change him because he is not doing a good job right now. And again, I enjoy making fun of Paolo and the Magic as much as anybody. But when I'm watching them this year, I do not, I actually think I would not come away from having watched whatever their opening 10 games this season and use that to be like, see, Paolo is overrated. Um, that's not the main takeaway. That's not the main reason that they're 4-6. The main reason they're 4-6 is how these pieces are being attempted to be put together by their head coach. And obviously, just this whole Desmond Bain thing where it's like you got a nuclear 3-point shooter and then you are somehow telling him to take less threes. They're taking less threes than they did last year. Like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you should call them the Orlando Muggles. But getting back to what you're saying, there isn't. I did want to deep dive a bit on the Magic because they're not very magical so far. Um,
I'm sorry, I just want to point this out. Last year, they took 41.1% of their shots from 3. This year, they're at 37.4. Like, it boggles the mind what the
yeah,
hell they're doing right
again, if
now.
you acquired Randy Moss or Deshaun Jackson and you took fewer deep shots, people would scratch their heads, right? Um, I but I think to the point we were making before, right? The East is it's really only one team that can match up with talent. I'm sorry, I don't really buy Detroit. I never will. I'm a Detroit hater. I think I'll tell you why. Because as I'm sure you also have friends who are Pistons fans, I was getting messages like Brunson is completely unethical and blah blah blah. So the Cade versus Brunson thing is much more personal than the Halliburton versus Brunson or the Trey Young. I'll even concede to the Halliburton. It's 2 years in a row. Fine, give it to him.
The Trey Young one isn't even real anyway.
Um, but I don't care about Detroit. Like they have a promising. We don't need to really litigate our difference of opinion on Jalen Duren. I we have two bigs that are better. I'm not worried about Jalen Duren. Osar Thompson is the kind of guy I would love to have on this team. I'm not buying anybody shutting down Brunson, especially now how our offense is functioning. I think it's a sweep. It's a sweep if we play them, and maybe they get one because they play really hard every night. And we don't know what Mike. I will say this, right? We criticize Tibbs for his playoff tendencies. It could be the situation where Mike Brown is experimenting now. In the playoffs, he reverts to he can't. He's not nimble in the playoffs. Fine. We have the best player. There's a strong argument we'd have the second best player. We have advantages, I think, at every position. I think there's only one player from the Pistons who would start on the Knicks. Um, I don't know what else you want me to say, right? Um, and that player is their best player. So
I mean, I think
I don't even
Detroit.
know if I'd start over Mikhail. Yeah, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm. I don't know. I'm like a little bit. I'm not sure what to make of Detroit because uh, they've gotten off to a really good start this season. They're 8-2. They're actually number one in the conference right now. I think it's stupid to look at seeding at this point or at this point in the season. But anyway, nonetheless, they are number one in the conference right now. But they're not. I don't know. I mean, they're strong, plus 5.5 net rating. They've had a lot of injuries though, and that's the thing that I think is interesting about them. They've had a lot of injuries, and they're young. So, like, it's very possible that I think Cade is better this year, right? How much better we can debate, but I think he is better this year. I think Duran is better this year. I think, you know, and then there's other guys, right? SR is he's better. There's still stuff that he's figuring out. We know the
They
shooting
also
is an
haven't
issue
had
for him.
3-point luck.
Yeah,
They're
so we get
19th in the league in 3-point luck, so it's not a yeah.
Yeah, but they're a bad shooting team, right? So that's also part of the equation. I mean, I'm watching the game yesterday against Philly, and they're like, they got obviously you got Caden Duran out there, but then the guys around them, it's like they have Javante Green and Ron Holland, and it's like you're not going to get spacing in that environment. So will they bring back Malik Beasley? I don't know. I don't really think that he's ever coming back to the NBA. But
He hasn't been tied to
yeah,
the
like
Chauncey Billups stuff, has he?
no, but I think that it would have to be a very brave team to roll that dice given the current climate.
Nice
Um,
pun. Roll the
yes,
dice.
but I think that like uh, to me they are interesting because of their youth and because I think their two best players, as far as I'm concerned, in Cade and Dern, look improved to me. Um, but also they have the ability to make trades. Like they have all their picks. They have all these various young guys that you can throw into trades. Um, you know, like can they get somebody who's a real big time floor spacer for them? Is that possible? Can they add something like, we talked about it last night, and I think this has been discussed. We're not breaking any news here. This has been people, a hypothetical people have been talking about even during the offseason is like, is this a Laurie Markkinen team? Because I think Markkinen would be a really, really perfect fit for them. Um, so that's why, like, as currently constructed, no. Do I think Detroit is in the same tier as New York or Cleveland? No. But I'm not writing them off. I think they have real there's real upside for them with this group. And the fact that they've won some of these games, with the the guys they have out, um, I think that's encouraging. And you bank those wins, right? Like so maybe you got lucky, but you can bank those wins and I think they have a pretty safe floor. Like they're not going to be a 36 win team. Maybe if Cade, obviously, okay, if Cade gets hurt, then sure. But like if Cade stays healthy, this is a good team. This is a good, solid playoff
The
team.
floor is probably
Um,
seed 5, right? Seed 4.
yeah, like that's to me like their floor, and I think they could be a 3 seed. I mean, I like them more than I feel better about them than Orlando. That's for sure. Like even if you want to say they're getting a little bit fortunate and their schedule has been soft or
But that's
whatever,
because you
um,
probably feel better about Cade than Paolo and Franz, right? That's probably the
I
heart of
just
it.
think, but they're just playing better as a team, and I think Orlando to me looks like a team that is in between figuring out what the hell their identity is. Detroit knows their identity, and it's not pretty. They're not playing some like beautiful brand of basketball, but I think there's value in that. Miami, I know that they're like a plus 5.8 net rating team. I I don't fully buy this. I'm not gonna lie, like their offense has been really good. I'm not sure
What about heat
that that's
culture?
sustainable. Yeah, that's the that kinda gotta factor that in. But I just don't really see, uh, you know, I don't see them being a real threat, at all. And I don't know anybody that really would argue
I think Knicks
otherwise.
fans are always going to be snake bitten by the Heat, just for from history, right? But yeah, I mean, on talent, the Knicks look like the most talented team in the East. Um, you can talk about Houston or Denver. I also think Houston. You mentioned this. Their offense doesn't seem very playoff proof. Still, I think Houston is being overrated a little bit in terms of their ability to actually win a championship. Um, I haven't watched enough of Denver this year, but I assume they're going to be fine. It's a MVP led team.
I mean,
Um,
they are fine. They're 7-2. They have the second best net rating in the league, plus 13. They're like
yeah,
literally. I mean,
and
OKC isn't. OKC is top in net rating, and they're plus 13.2. So Denver qualitatively has played not about. They're basically they're at the same level as
well,
OKC.
say
Very
thirteen
early,
point two versus 7.2 or
13.
13 point 13.2 versus yeah. So um, I don't think Houston's on that level. So I think those would be like yeah. If we lose the Cavs, I think it'd be because Donovan Mitchell had a great series. or because Atkinson really outcoached Brown, which I will say, as someone who's very optimistic about Brown, we don't know that yet, and I just didn't pay attention to like that to Mike Brown on the Lakers or the Cavs in a playoff series. So you kind of had to think though, right? Like the East is ours, right? You said it. Like there's room for improvement, and when we say improvement, not like they need to change things, but like these things statistically are likely to improve. And we just talked about how we're haters, but I think you gave a pretty you made a steel man case for Detroit, and I agree with you on a lot of it. I also just don't care because there's just so much. Do you dispute the assertion that one player on the Piston would start for the Knicks?
Um, no, I don't think that's that crazy.
Do you dispute the assertion? Okay, without being too harmful, right? With Mitchell Robinson healthy, their second best player, Duran, or if you want to say he's been their best player this year, how many minutes would he even get on this team? That's their second best player. How many minutes does he even get on the Knicks if Mitchell Robinson is healthy and Cat is healthy,
I,
obviously?
I think he would get quite a bit because I think he'd be fucking awesome next to Cat.
But so
Like
is Mitch.
that. Yeah, but
You think he
Mitch
would? So,
doesn't play 48 minutes.
so if Mitch is playing 20 minutes, you're still gonna play Cat a bunch. So he would take minutes from Yabusele. Okay, that's fair. Um, I think we'd both say you wouldn't start him over Mitch, right?
I mean, I might, but not because I think he's better than Mitch. I might start him
Yeah,
because I don't trust Mitch's health and I want to make sure he's healthy for the
yeah.
playoffs.
So we're talking. I'm talking about a 7 game series, right? So you have one player who would start, another player who might and would be a rotation guy. I mean, are we giving Isaiah Stewart minutes? No. Are we giving Jaden Ivey minutes over? I wouldn't give him minutes over Deuce. And as you talked about, Clarkson's been pretty good. Maybe you would because Jaden Ivey's younger. But is Jaden Ivey better right now than Jordan Clarkson?
I mean,
But they play
Ivy
hard.
hasn't played basketball in like a year, so and he wasn't like we have to be real. Like Jaden Ivey was not good his first couple of years in the league. Now we can sit here and talk about why that was the case, circumstances, blah blah blah. He just wasn't though. Last year he was not great to start the season, but then it started to look a little bit better. Then he gets hurt. He's out for the year, and then this year again, obviously he's out hurt right now. So Jaden Ivey is just a total wild card. Like maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know. They still have a lot of stuff to figure out. Like how does Jaden Ivey how do you fit him in alongside Cade? Because as good as Cade is, Cade hasn't shown the kind of off-ball utility that Brunson has. That's just not been a thing
Yeah,
that
and
he's been
he can
particularly
catch
good
and
at
shoot.
this stage of his career.
And he can catch and shoot, and he's not selfish. So I think it could work. But there, to your point, there would be a process.
No, no,
My
I
point.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree it can work, but it's also like you have to work at it. Like it's not just going to be like, Jaden Ivey's healthy and now these two guys together are going to be awesome together. I think there's going to be some growing pains there whenever he gets back. Um, and then, you just look at the wing stuff. Like, I don't know, Tobias Harris is, he didn't play last night. He's a nice player for them, but like, that's not a long term solution. Maybe that doesn't matter this year. But also, like, if you did trade for a guy like Lauri Markkanen, Tobias Harris is probably the guy that's going out in that deal. So, um, you know, uh, again, like I think as it stands, yeah,
Yeah,
the
like
Knicks
like my you get the point I'm
the
making though,
Knicks,
right? The talent advantage is the talent
yeah,
is
of
this is
course.
why we all were so fucking mad last year. And they lost Beasley and Hardaway and Schroeder. And that's why we were also mad last year that it even came to 6 games and a bunch of close games. But I see one, maybe two guys who are consistent rotation players on the Knicks. Even if they get Lowry, like good, we have OG.
I mean,
If you put
you can
Lowry at the 4, Mitchell Robinson is gonna fucking like tear out your heart and fucking throw it back at you like Dawson and Street Fighter. So um
you can extend this beyond the Knicks though. Like how many guys start for Cleveland from Detroit? Like Cade, it's probably about it. And you know what? I will say this. Duran had a lot of issues during that playoff series last year. I think he still has stuff defensively that's,
His
let's
biggest
put it
issue
this
is
way. I
Mitchell
don't think,
Robinson. That's what I
yeah,
came
he's
to.
not going to be like this elite defensive anchor. That's not gonna. I don't see that happening for him. I think he can be good, but he's not going to be some elite defensive anchor. That said, I came away more impressed with him in his playoff series than I ever have with Jared Allen. So maybe they start two guys. Maybe two guys start for Cleveland. But at the end of the day,
The lights weren't too bright.
there's a there's a difference between what the Pistons currently have on their roster and what the Knicks have and what the Cavs have. I think the Cavs have superior, like the Cavs are the one team in the East that I genuinely feel like that's the Knicks competition. I do not think Detroit's there. I don't think Miami's there. I don't think Orlando's going to get there. I don't think Orlando's going to sniff that. Like, Boston's taking a gap year. Chicago, really fun story. They have a plus 1.4 net rating. They rode some luck to get some of these wins early in the season. I think they should be, if I was a Bulls fan, I would still be very happy about what I'm seeing because look,
Well,
if
Giddy
Giddy
looks like a
is
real franchise
yeah,
cornerstone.
if this is right, if this is what Giddy is, then okay, this changes a lot of things for the future of your franchise. They do have all their picks. They have a lot of cap space coming up next offseason. Like this is like a good situation. This could just be a fun year for them where it's like, okay, we're not really a contender, but maybe this kind of establishes a foundation and we can go from there. But like, yeah,
And
like I
one
just
the
look at
one
this
team
East.
the one team you haven't mentioned is also the one team that if the Knicks face them in a playoff series, that team would have the best player. Even you or I would admit that. So, and Milwaukee has played well, and they beat us. And they beat us, by the way, with a player who's beat us 2 times in a row. Halliburton gets all the headlines, but Turner has been a problem for the Knicks. Um,
I don't think
is
Turner was a problem
Milwaukee
for the
kind
Knicks.
of, we what?
I don't think Turner was a problem for the Knicks. I think he fucking sucked last year.
It still pulls your bigs away from the rim. It creates things in pick and rolls and whatever. If Neesmith is getting fucking open threes on pick and roll, it has something to do with the big.
I
But
don't think Miles Turner had anything to do with that.
um, Milwaukee, you're still writing off, or
I don't understand why I'm supposed to care about this team.
they have the
Oh,
best player
congrats,
in the
Giannis.
East.
Great. He's been the best player in the East for what, the last 6 fucking years? How many playoff series have they
They
won
beat
since
the Knicks.
since Milwaukee? They won 1 game against the Knicks. What were we is Miami a contender now too? Should we be terrified of Miami? Should we be mortified of the Bulls?
I think we're always going to be terrified of Miami, but yeah, I see your point.
But like I don't know, like their second best player is Ryan Rollins. Okay. Okay.
He's playing
Like
really well.
that's great. I'm really happy for him. That's awesome. And I'm not sure why any of this matters. Like they're not, but Milwaukee is
Do you think Ryan Rollins
the
could be
current.
as good as Maxey?
No, Milwaukee is 6-4. They have a plus 1.5 net rating. This is not a particularly strong team. They got off to a really good start because Giannis started off the season like an absolute wrecking ball, and he is trying to stake claim again to, best player in the world or whatever, and he's motivated and blah blah blah. The overall performances are not particularly strong. Their defense is not good. Their offense is good, not elite. They lack shot creation. Like rest Ryan. Look, I'm not trying to shit on Ryan Rollins or anything. Obviously, for him to produce what he's producing, and for Milwaukee to have like effectively found this right for free, almost in some ways, if you want to frame it that way, is a huge get for them. But like, it doesn't change the trajectory of the franchise. Like Ryan Rollins is not some God, like, where would you even rank him among starting point guards in the league? You know what I mean? Like, he's a good player. Nice, great. They
I'd take
need
him over
more good
Hero.
players. Yeah, okay. Well,
I
that's
mean, would you? I
not
think
saying
him versus Jared McCain, who's very highly regarded, is a reasonable convo. And the upside of being even, yeah, I think a
okay. Well,
max.
let's say he's better than Jared McCain. Okay, but Jared McCain is what in the grand scheme of point guards in the NBA?
I mean,
He's not
probably
like a
would be
top 10
higher if
guy,
he
not a
wasn't.
top 15 guy.
He probably would be viewed higher if he wasn't playing behind Maxey, right? So
SGA, Murray, Brunson, Cade,
I'm
Mitchell
assuming
or
this is in
Garland.
order.
Yeah, I'm not. This is not an order. I'm just looking down the standings. Mitchell or Garland, pick one, maybe both.
You
Maxi,
count Luca as a point guard, I guess.
Steph, Luca. Like, there's so many guards. Giddy, if he's playing
Reeves,
like this. Yeah,
Reeves, I would
Reeves.
say.
Like there's. Ryan Rollins is a nice story. It's a good get for Milwaukee. I'm sorry if the Knicks play a series against them. Like that should be that should be domination. They should not. It should not be competitive. And even the game we lost to them, like, okay, yeah, it sucks. Good win for them. Annoying loss for us. I didn't think the Knicks played bad. I think the Knicks, that was like, I hate boiling it down to this, but they shot really fucking well from three, and the Knicks didn't. And the Knicks got a lot of quality looks that they didn't knock down. And Cat had a disaster individual game, which, like, okay, if you want to say he's prone to like moments like this, fair.
Well,
But is
especially
Cat going to
against
do that?
they
Yeah,
have a
but I mean,
really good front court, right? So
Yeah, but is Cat going to be that bad? He's going to play like that consistently? Like, I don't buy that. I think that's like that might have been the worst game he's ever played as a Nick. Like, that's how bad he was in that second half. I think it's, you know, again, and that was also when Josh Hart was like playing like a fucking asshole.
was that the game when we got the coach killer discourse afterwards?
That was, it's just I think the Knicks are comfortably better than Milwaukee. I'm not even sure Milwaukee finishes as a top. I'm not even sure they're still very much in the play-in mix as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm not that bullish on them. Cool, you have Giannis, and he's amazing. The rest of this team is thoroughly mediocre to me.
Okay,
Like,
so yeah, I think we're both on the same page. I don't think we see anyone besides Cleveland as a threat. Let's hold off on Cleveland because I think we've seen the Knicks play Cleveland. The game plan is probably going to be similar, right? Attack Mitchell and pick and roll, crash the glass with Mitch when he's in, harass Mitchell with Deuce, and and get into transition with OG and Mikhail can create transition opportunities. And then I think we've talked a lot about how Oklahoma City is just so we've talked a lot about how the Knicks have matched up pretty well with Denver. If Hukporti improves, and if I think there's still reason to believe they can. I do want to ask you this, right? If we get to the place where it's 4 out of 7 against Oklahoma City, what would be your game plan? Now, understanding there's talent discrepancies and all of that. What would be your game plan to beat Oklahoma City in a 7-game series with this next team?
I think Oklahoma City is just a really bad matchup for us. I'm not confident that we would beat Oklahoma City in a series.
So what's our slingshot, David? Come on.
I think it would be competitive just because I believe in. I think what Mike Brown is implementing makes us a much more challenging proposition for them versus, I think by the time, like, we played 3 good quarters against them, and then they just destroyed us for the other 5. They'd figured us out last year completely and thoroughly. Uh, I It would be much more difficult for them now. We saw that Indiana gave them obviously everything they could handle. That series went 7. Is Mike Brown as good at pushing buttons and kind of finding the right answer as Rick Carlisle? I don't think so, because I think Rick Carlisle is probably the best, like, in-game, in-series tactician in the league.
Over Spo
But
or Tyronn Lue?
yeah, easily. But I just think they're a bad matchup. So I would probably say like 6 games, Oklahoma City could beat us. But I still feel really, really good about if Denver can come out of the West. I think that is a fucking great matchup for us. I really do. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe we'll play them twice this year and I'll feel completely differently after that. But I've seen us play Denver now, what, 5 times since we traded for Josh Hart, and the only loss we have in that time was a game where I think Brunson was out and Randall was out, and we lost that game to them. But like, we destroyed them last year
We
in
destroyed them
Denver.
with Jericho Sims as the starting center the year
Yeah,
before.
we destroyed them in 2024. We destroyed them twice last year. We handled them pretty comfortably in 2023. Like, I just think that's a good matchup for us. I really believe that.
What worries me is Cat
And
getting into foul trouble because of Jokic.
yeah, I don't know. Cat does well against Jokic though, for whatever reason. Like, I just think we have a lot of guys that have had
Going back to
good.
Minnesota, by the way, right? So
Yeah, he's had Cat's had good performances against Jokic. OG has genuinely been like really destructive when he plays against Denver for whatever reason. Like, he's owned them. Um, Mitchell Robinson is Mitchell Robinson. Like, there's a lot of just things that I think we can throw at them that make that a good matchup. OKC is a little bit different. But maybe I will say,
I mean,
like,
how would
Oklahoma
you
City
play
is
it though? I mean, would you first of all would you go double big or more 5 out?
against Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
I I don't I haven't seen enough from the Knicks this year to feel confident about this. I don't think we quite yet know what our best lineup is or whatever and all that stuff. But I think you would start double big. Because I think that Mitchell Robinson is arguably your most impactful player, like on a per minute basis. Uh, it's not like a crazy assertion. Like, he's been.
I'd still take
I tweeted
Brunson,
this
but
out.
he could
I tweeted
easily
this
be
out
number
last
2. Yeah,
night. I tweeted this out last night, but like, I don't know what the hell he did during his rehab or whatever last year. He has been on a different level since he came back. Like, and look, yes, to your point. Like, I think you made this point yesterday. It's like, well, the shorter stints and not playing starter minutes and stuff like that help him for sure. But even with that kind of, even
caveat.
understanding that, I just think his impact at this point is like, it was crazy watching him last season to me, where I was like, wait, I know Mitch Robinson's good. I've always known he's good, but he leveled up in a way that is like special. It's fun to say, and it's true. Mitchell Robinson has won us multiple playoff series, and that's obviously a fact. You go back to the Cleveland series in 2023. That's a real thing. He obviously contributed in a big way when we beat Philly in 2024. But last
I
year,
would say
the
Detroit too.
way,
Yeah,
yeah, well, I'm saying, like, last year, the shit he did in the postseason was on a different level to even what had come before. I think his offensive rebounding is better now, like, which is fucking insane to think about.
he's leading the
He's
league
just a
for 36. DJ from next film school. I mean, not
yeah,
surprising, but yeah.
he's also just like, I think he's just a lot smarter defensively. He is just a lot more disciplined. Um, yeah, and even offensively, like,
I mean, he rarely commits stupid fouls anymore. I mean,
well,
imagine if his first couple of years if I had told you that.
yeah,
It
well,
rarely
that
happens, right?
and I think the thing with him offensively is obviously the offensive rebounding is and always has been great for him. Now he gets offensive rebounds, and it's like he makes good decisions. Like, he'll get the rebound and then, okay, I probably can't finish this easily. Let me just kick it out to somebody for a three. And
And there are
it's those
always open
small little
shooters.
things that add value.
There are always open shooters because defenses
Right.
have to
And
send everyone at him. So that means if he gets the rebound in the traffic, Shamet is open, Brunson is open, right? So
yeah, so I'm just, yeah, like, I'm very much in the opinion that he would have to start because he is one of your 5 best players, obviously.
I also
So yeah,
think
I
he
just
would
think
stuff
that's
Isaiah
how you
Hartenstein in a
play it.
trash can. Chet is his own
I think
thing.
that he would do I think he would destroy Chet. I think Chet's super overrated. Offensively. Defensively, Chet is the real deal. Offensively, I'm not that impressed by Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, but he
Um,
would pull Mitch out of the paint, right? If they go 5 out, so, or if they play him at the 5.
I I've watched enough of Chet Holmgren in the playoffs. I don't care, man. I think you're yes, the theory of Chet Holmgren being this super threat that you have to honor out there is fine. He does not have a quick enough trigger for that. He cannot attack closeouts the way that you would ideally want him to. He's not like horrible or anything, but he's not some
He's not
dynamic off the
Wemby.
bounce creator. Yeah, he's not a dynamic off the bounce creator. He's not a particularly great or imposing post player. Um, I'm not that worried about Ja Morant. I think the thing you have to worry about with them is obviously SGA, which just goes without saying. But we didn't see them this year with Jalen Williams. Like AJ Mitchell has been awesome, and shout out to him because he's doing great work for my fantasy team. But like Jalen Williams is obviously the guy that they are banking on to be their second star creator. And I think people overrated him last season. Like, I don't think he was deserving of being an all-star player. I don't think he was deserving of being an all NBA player. I get that they won so many games that it's almost like we kind of have to
Like that Hawks
show the
team.
team. We have to show the team some respect by giving them more than one guy that we're, you know, tossing these accolades at. But he was great in the NBA finals when they needed him to be. After struggling through a lot of the first 2-3 rounds. And I think that even if I think he got overrated last year, there's definitely a world where that guy develops into a true bona fide all-star.
Yeah, so
And
last year his stats, I'll just read them out quick. 19, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, to only 1.7 turnovers. So for an off-ball player, that's pretty good. Sorry, no, that was 2 years ago. So last year, 21.6, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, low turnovers, only 2.2, 37, 48, 79 splits. So, I mean, those look like all-star numbers to me.
yeah, I mean, the West is the West, though. He did not deserve to be an all-star last year. And either way, I think he has the potential to be a top 15, whatever. We can debate the number, but he's
I
in
mean, I
that.
think we
He
both
has the
wanted him.
potential.
We both wanted him in the draft,
Yeah,
right? And he's not living up to that.
yeah. He can be a legitimate All NBA player. I don't question that. So I think like if he does hit that level that we saw in the finals, and he hits that consistently, they're a really tough cover for us. Brunson, you have to hide him somewhere. Where are you going to hide him? How are you
Lou,
going
I
to
guess.
avoid getting? How are you going
I
to
mean,
avoid?
you would hide him on
Switching.
Dort, I guess, right? So, and then you put the
Yeah,
wings
but how are
on
you? How are you
SGA.
avoiding? How are you avoiding having him switch on the SGA? How are you avoiding having him switch on to Jalen Williams? These are the things you really have to consider. Indiana did a lot of cool and interesting things defensively throughout that series. In terms of pressuring them full court, and then at various times not pressuring them at all, bringing the ball up the floor. So I think you just have to mix and match and throw different things at them because as good as SGA is and as good as Jalen Williams might be, I think their offensive system is pretty simplistic. It's kind of Tibbsy in some ways, where it's like get the ball to your best player or your second best player, run a pick and roll, maybe try to get a mismatch and let that guy cook. Like that's a lot of what their offense is. They are not threatening on the glass, which is significant because the Knicks are dominant on the glass. I mean, the Knicks are pretty much the best. They're not pretty much. They are the best rebounding team in the league. They're the number one defensive rebounding team in the league, and they are number 2 in offensive rebounding. Interestingly enough, Houston is where are they? They're only the 12th best defensive rebounding team in the league, which is kind of crazy because they're
It's probably
by
a lot
far and away the
higher.
best.
It's
Well,
probably a
they're
lot
the
higher in
best
Adams' minutes. Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
maybe, but they're the best offensive rebounding team in the league by a mile. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, that's an advantage for the Knicks that they have to capitalize on. Yeah, and I know OKC they have been a fine shooting team, but I don't really like Isaiah Joe was not very good in the playoffs, right? Aaron Wiggins, not very good in the playoffs. Now, maybe those guys also develop and take a leap. And that's really why the OKC thing is hard to like determine because they just have a lot of guys that should be getting better and are already very good, right? Like, I mean, I just shit on Chet, but like he's already really good. So, and he's what, 23 or whatever the hell he is. Like Jalen Williams is 23. Casey Wallace is what, 21 or 22. Like these are all guys who are legitimate championship caliber rotation players in a variety of different kind of roles in the pecking order, but they're already that good. What does it look like if they even take like if their progression is just like the average improvement of an NBA player in those years, like it's kind of scary to think about how good they can be. So OKC for me, I feel like we're gonna need Nikola Jokic to do us a solid and finish the job this year. Um, could the Knicks beat them? Yeah, I think the Knicks could beat them because I think the Knicks are as good as Indiana was last year. Um, and they took them 7. So why not? Why couldn't the Knicks do it? But if you put a gun to my head and, I had to make a call, like, yeah, I think Oklahoma City, I think they're going to be the favorite if the Knicks played them in the finals, and they would deserve to be. But
But what would you do to, like, putting the coach hat on?
yeah, I think that you would play your best players. Like, I don't really have an answer for this. I think you have to clog the paint as much as you can. I think you want to force them to kind of drive and kick and find the 3-point shooters. You obviously, you can only do so much against SGA. Teams did everything they possibly could, and he still was fantastic last year in the postseason. So, what can you really do there? But you have to hit shots. At the end of the day, you got to hit shots. And like the biggest thing, and this is where it'll be interesting to see how they match up. Oklahoma City is great at turning you over. That's like one of their superpowers. The Knicks have been a low turnover team this year, even with all the increased ball movement and player movement. If you can keep the turnovers in your favor, you have a really good chance against them. Because one of the main reasons their offensive rating, Oklahoma City, is even as good as good as it is because they get so many easy buckets in transition off of turnovers. That's, again, that is like that is their superpower. That is the thing that makes them an elite basketball team as far as their collective identity. So that's the emphasis for me. If you play them, you need to win the possession battle. You got to own the glass and you have to limit your turnovers. Those are very easy things to say, harder to execute, especially the turnover thing. But yeah, that's what I would do. That would be my focus is like those things. I think the glass in particular is something that you need to own against them because they don't have answers for that. Like they have one guy who rebounds well for his position, which is Hartenstein, and he's been a playoff dropper for at least 2 years now. Yeah.
I see you're not calling him fart and shit anymore.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Well, I think that's pretty good analysis, and from your lips to Mike Brown's ears, inshallah. So.
Yes, that would be great. All right, I think we can get out of here. The Knicks have a back-to-back. They play Memphis tomorrow night on Tuesday, and then they play Orlando on Wednesday. So hopefully I didn't jinx the Knicks with all my shit talk of Orlando on this podcast. I guess one thing we could do before we get here, Ja Morant, will be seeing him tomorrow. He's had a eventful a start to the season, and he is playing with a level of true indifference right now. We'll see if that changes over the course of the year or whatever. There's a lot of people that like still are talking about him and as far as like Minnesota is brought up a lot as a team that should maybe consider trading for that should maybe consider trading for Ja Morant. I just don't think Morant, like, he's just not the player he was. And I think there's a few factors for that. Like the league is better. The guards are better in the league. If you look at the guards, back in that 2021 and the 2022 seasons when he was like kind of a rising star, maybe potential face of the league type of a deal, there weren't a lot of established young guards in the league. Now, like SGA wasn't SGA then. Brunson wasn't Brunson. Maxey didn't out he was not this. Whatever, we can go on and on. Reeves was not, and I'm not saying Reeves is like
And
amazing.
even a
Like
guy
I
like
think
Ant wasn't established the same way, right? So,
yeah, so I feel like that's a reason why we're like, what happened to him? And it's like, I don't know, did anything really happen to him, or is he just looks worse now because other guys got better? And then like, yeah, I don't know. I would not say that Ja Morant is necessarily uh my body is a temple type of dude. And I think that stuff can catch up to you, obviously, as you get older. So I don't know. I'm not that bullish on him, and I don't really buy that, like, oh, a change of scenery would suddenly like get him back to being this all NBA type guard. The league's just I mean, would you rather have him or like would you rather bet on Ja Morant or Cade for the next 5 years?
yeah, that's Cade easy. But I think to your point, I could highlight another guard, right? Relies on speed, um, but also is pretty strong. Has shown some ability in the mid range, um, and from three. Um, has had
DeAndre
val-
Hunter.
um, and another team that could benefit from Ja just traded for him, and that's De'Aaron Fox. Like that's what I look at in terms of. So I think that a lot of the things. One, you're going to the most gun-friendly state in the country, right? So that could be a good thing for Ja. But I do think Ja is better than De'Aaron Fox, and I brought this up in the strict court, and it's like that's just a lateral move because he has all the same flaws. But I do think he's just better because I think he's a better finisher. I think that they're probably similar as passers, although I'm higher on what Ja can actually like. I'm higher on Ja's feel. Um, so I think it's an interesting point you're making because I think people highlight well he had the injuries, his athleticism has diminished. Doesn't seem to be the guy who's in college. He was noted for his work ethic. Right, goes to a mid major, becomes the number two pick. So obviously that work ethic was there at some point. Um, he doesn't. From everything we've seen, he hasn't screamed at that. Um, but he'd also be in a position in San Antonio where he wouldn't be the face of the franchise. This is, I think, maybe what people are talking about with Minnesota. It was like Ant is the guy clearly. Um, so Ja could, the same thing that has helped with Cat when Wolves got Ant. It it removed the need for Cat to be the face of the franchise in the same way. I think he's embraced not having to be that here as well. Um, I look at San Antonio as a place where, if they can just do a straight swap, even if Memphis is like, we're done. And if San Antonio is like, we have a team leader, we have a clear face of the franchise. They don't have any vets. So if Ja really is not great in the locker room, maybe there's some concerns there. But that's what I look at as a potential landing spot for him. But I do think it's right that, like, I mean, if I was the Lakers, I wouldn't trade Reeves for him. I don't think I would trade for him at all if I was the Lakers. Um, if I was like, it's just not as many spots. And I also think that if you're not a great defender and you can't shoot well and you're 6'2", we've seen it all. Even if you can shoot well, Malik Monk's value is inexplicably low. That might be an overcorrection, but I don't think it's been a while since it's been this bad to be a small guard in the NBA. And I don't think Ja is quite small, but he doesn't add value on defense. So functionally, he's small in that sense. There hasn't been as bad a time, so it'll be interesting to see what his value is. Um, I think they're a team like Atlanta, I would completely rule out because Trey is just better, and they tried pairing Trey with a non-shooting guard, and that was a disaster. And a much better defender than Ja is. You always keep your eye out on Miami, but to the extent that they care about quote unquote heat culture, I don't know if that works. Maybe Brooklyn sees him as a piece for like not a final piece, but they're not going to win for a couple years. So
I mean,
can't.
there's box office value to Ja. So like, I'm not even saying that as a joke. Like, if you're Brooklyn, it's not the most
Yeah, and he can,
ridiculous thing in the world.
he's good enough to give you a decent floor, I think, right? If you're Brooklyn and you're like, we saw them yesterday. Like, I think the Knicks played really well, but this is a team that is Michael Porter Jr. and hopes and prayers, right? So Michael Porter Jr. is also, I guess, hopes and prayers. But you know, I look at it and I feel like a team that it would be a strategic maneuver for. I could see San Antonio doing it.
Yeah, I could see that. They're it's just I don't I feel like Memphis would want picks, and if you're San Antonio, you're like, why am I giving you picks? Like, I'm not.
Well, you're
It just
giving them
doesn't
an
make sense.
equal caliber of player, right? And you could throw in, a, if you throw in Sohan, I'd be fine with that. And
Yeah,
for
I mean, I
Memphis, I
guess if
think that
Memphis would
works.
do that, if Memphis would do that, that's fine. I don't know. The report today is like, they want a bunch of picks and young players, which okay, that's the report because that's what any team is going to say that they want. I just don't know what team is like willing to do that for Ja and to take the chance on him. As San Antonio, especially, I just feel like they're so they have the benefit of one, they have Wemby, and two, like they got Dylan Harper as well, who has looked really good when he's played. And I just feel like they're content to kind of slow roll it a little bit because they have that luxury. But
But if they can
the
get off
Brooklyn
Fox,
thing,
then I think that's where I would, because I think they're in the same position, right? Fox is not a good fit there right now. So
yeah. Well, I'd also the Brooklyn thing is like I actually think there's plenty of logic to it, but they need to be bad this year. And that's like very obvious. I mean, they've openly talked about this. Josiah has openly said, like, we're not gonna be good this year. And like that's kind of like part of the plan. So I don't see that happening coming to fruition right now. I feel like Sacramento is probably the one that because who the hell ever knows what the hell they want to do, but um, they probably could use somebody that's box office, somebody to draw fans to the stadium consistently. He gives you somebody who's just like, okay, this is the guy that we're going to build around. They don't really have anything like that right now. It's like, okay, you have Levine and you have DeRozan and you have Sabonis, but like none of these guys seem to be anybody they want to build around, and rightfully so. Like they're not that caliber of player, um, nor are they particularly effective as offensive centerpieces. Ja, who I think has real flaws that hold him back from being one of the elite guards in the league, uh, he does have like, he can give you a solid floor offensively if you put the right pieces around him. He's going to get 2 feet in the paint consistently. He's obviously a really good transition player, and not just in terms of getting to the rim himself, but like creating for others. Um, there's still like a lot. I think he is a really good passer. Like he's a very creative passer too. So like I don't know. I feel like Sacramento would make sense. I don't know if
Detroit,
Milwaukee. Detroit. I don't see that.
because
The
Detroit,
Minnesota
like you
thing, I
said, they
just
have the picks, and he'd be a decent complement to Cade. We saw Cade function well with
yeah.
Shooter, right? So
I don't think they're gonna roll the dice on Ja. I think they can be a little bit more patient and wait for somebody more appealing. Um, Minnesota is interesting because they don't have much in the way of assets, but like they do desperately need a point guard of some kind. I know their offense has been awesome to start this year. I think they have the third best offensive rating in the league or whatever. But you still feel like in a half court game, if you can slow them down, uh, they're not as threatening. I felt that way watching them in our game on Wednesday or last Wednesday. Granted, some of that is okay. Anthony Edwards' first game back after whatever straining his hamstring, but even otherwise, Minnesota just has so many bad half court moments at times. I could see that, but yeah, I don't know. I gun to my head, I feel like John is just staying in Memphis this season, and maybe they revisit it in the summer. But it's also like, we've seen stars do this stuff. Like he can be unhappy and miserable and make everybody else unhappy and miserable around him. And then if you're the team, it's like, okay, well, how do we handle this? Like, do we just have to move on and accept that we're not going to get the peak value that we want for him? Or do you just say, hey, you're still under contract for another couple of years. So if this is how you want to play it, that's fine. But we're not just trading you because you want to be traded.
Can I make a comp? Is Ja Morant
Sure.
this generation Steph Marbury? Stephon Marbury?
That's an interesting one. I think he's already had a higher peak than Marbury did.
Marbury was a 22-8 guy. Like, he was really good. Like,
I
we
know.
forget
I
that
know.
because he was, what happened in New York. But
No, Marbury was a hell of a talent. He probably, if he came in the league today, I think things would be very different for him because it would be okay for to have a guard that like scores a lot, which was like not seen as a good thing at that time. Um, but Ja, I don't know. I think Ja has, but forget the what level of player or whatever. But the comp is interesting in the sense of Marbury, obviously, forced to trade from Minnesota, wasn't particularly great in New Jersey, gets traded to Phoenix, then gets traded to New York. Is Ja headed on that track? I don't know. I feel like I think he's a bit more of a higher profile player than Marbury, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if that's kind of how it turns out. But I guess we'll see. All right. Maybe the Raptors. Raptors might be interesting. Might be interesting. All right. That is our show for today. Stacy, let the people know they can find you and plug anything you'd like to plug.
you can find me at StacyPatton89 on Twitter. I will highlight all the great work at the Strickland. I'll also highlight Strictly NFL. Constantine Metros, big Giants fan. A lot of changes for the Giants, or at least one big one, which is very interesting. As an Eagles fan, I'll say I've been mulling over if we want Dable as offensive coordinator now. But Giants, despite being 2-8, I'll say like I'm not jealous, obviously, but a lot of exciting stuff there. Great defensive line, franchise quarterback, and I would say Khan is a great guy to follow to see how your team's coming up. And this is an exciting part, the come up. And I do think the come up. I'm not rooting for it, but I think it's coming. So Strictly NFL is a great place to kind of keep up with all that.
I agree. I will echo all those sentiments. I have nothing to plug, so check out all the work at Strickland. Thank you to our sponsor, FanDuel. That is our show for today. I hope everybody has a great week, including the Knicks, and I will see you on Friday. Peace.